I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me.
Hello and welcome back to the Bobby Dizzle podcast, everybody. This week's episode is dealing with the aliens and demon connections, and are they affiliated? Are they the same thing? This week's guest is Cory Pressler. He is a experiencer of the UFO and demon phenomenon at a very young age, and is also a UFO experiencer. Has a pretty good sighting story to tell. But before we get started, let me remind everyone to check out BobbyDizzle.com. It should be on the screen right now somewhere. I don't know where. I'm going to put it on there. Add it in post. We'll do it live. Do it live. But BobbyDizzle.com has all the ways to listen and follow. Remind everyone to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and please share this. I'm trying to get 1,000 followers, make this kind of a viable channel. Right now we're chilling at about 150, and I want to get higher. Those are rookie numbers, baby. I want to pump those numbers up. But please share, and with all your friends. And I am on audio platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Anchor. If you go to Anchor, which is on my podcast, or on the website. It's on the podcast too. It's on the website. You'll find all the ways to listen on Anchor, which features all the different, it's like iHeartRadio, that kind of stuff. But whatever the case, you get the idea. Check out BobbyDizzle.com. All the ways to listen, subscribe, follow, make fun of yours truly on there. So let's get started. Here comes Cory Pressler. This was a fun episode to make. I made it a few weeks ago, and I've been excited. I've been asked by several people when I was going to air it, and today is the day. So here's Cory Pressler. Thanks, everybody. I've got the video playing in two places in my ear. How's it going, Cory Pressler?
Hey, how we doing?
Hey, how's it going? Hello and welcome back to the Bobby Dizzle podcast, everybody. We're live to tape tonight. Me and Cory are live. You are not. You're on tape or digital media. This podcast is your home for rabbit holes, tangents, and any topic that captivates my net-like attention span. I do have a couple of announcements tonight. I've been reconstructing my website since nearlyfreespeech.net wiped it off the face of the earth. It was my pride and joy, but my old website is no more. But you can check that out still at BobbyDizzle.com. You can also find all the ways to watch, listen, follow me on social media on BobbyDizzle.com, and of course in the description. We may have an appearance from our favorite biologist, Wild Trees, tonight. He is very in demand, so we may not come in, but we do have Cory Pressler, who's our main guest. Wild Trees is just he's the color commentate and ask all the good questions. It's just me and my immature jokes tonight, so I have to deal with it. And Cory Pressler, how's it going? How you doing?
I'm doing really good.
Up in Indiana, freezing cold. He said it's 100 degrees here in Alabama.
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
Oh yeah, Mr. Pressler is a UFO and time loss experiencer. And tell me if I'm leaving things out or getting things wrong here, because I'm just going back, creating this from our previous conversations. And is passionate about researching the correlation between abductions, sleep paralysis, attack in the demonic realm. He also shares his testimony on several shows. And I know you've shared him a lot. I don't know if you want to share it tonight or you want to go down another road, another conversation.
Yeah, we can. I could share the testimony.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it, but I just don't want to be that guy. It's like, oh, tell me the same thing you've said 1,000 times again.
Right.
But yeah, if you want to, the floor is yours for that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a big connection between. It seems generational, like what the parents can do can affect the children growing up. I don't necessarily think that was my case. I think mine was sexual abuse. I had sexual abuse when I was real young, and it caused me to have out-of-body experiences. But I didn't have it like immediate memories of it. I blocked it out, and I had recall later on down the road. And it's like having the event all over again once you have the recall. And it seemed like after that, I was having demonic attack. It didn't seem like a demonic attack at the time. It just seemed like I was just having out of body experiences. They seemed like dreams. They seemed like really realistic dreams. But looking back, I was looking down at myself while events were happening. I can just remember just vivid detail of the events. Then I ended up getting meningitis, and it was like after that, I didn't have any more out of body experiences. And then fast forward, I don't know, I was probably 22, 23. And then I had sleep paralysis was starting to affect me. I'd moved into a new apartment with a girl that I was dating at the time. And it was our first night in the house. And I had woke up, I couldn't move. My girlfriend was awake for some reason, but she noticed that I was struggling. And it was like 3:30, 4 in the morning. She said that she tried to lift me up. She couldn't, like I was 1,000 pounds. But we both heard this thing giggling. It started laughing at us. Like the more we struggled, the more this thing was laughing at us. But we talked about it a little bit afterwards, but after that, she just wanted to act like it didn't happen. And then right after that, I was working at a dairy facility, a dairy factory, and these two events were real close together too, the sleep paralysis and that I don't know if it was a succubus, incubus, what type of entity it was, but it seemed to enjoy the fact that I was in a lot of discomfort.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I was working at this factory, and let's see, there was a side door. I wasn't in the cooler section. What I did was, we had these bossies. They were called bossies, and they were 8 stacks. You could put 10 gallons on each stack, so a rack, and so you'd get what, like 80 gallons on each one. But they would come back in a row, and they would, have spilled milk on them. I had to pull them out and put them through a sterilizer. Well, I would take a break off to the side door. I went out there, and I was smoking a cigarette, and my boss was standing there just staring up into the sky, and I was trying to talk to him, but he wasn't paying attention. I look up, and there's 4 lights making like a small triangle shape. Well, eventually it almost looked like it was either coming into our dimension, or I just couldn't see what was coming into view, I guess, because the lights just started appearing out of nowhere, because we thought they were separate craft at first. And then eventually this thing was like the size of 3-4 football fields. It looked just like the Phoenix Lights back in '97.
Yeah, telltale sign.
Yes, but the only difference was, instead of a complete triangle where the bottom would be a straight line, it was curved. It had a curve to it, and it didn't make any sound. It didn't. The only thing that I noticed was there was a smell of ozone, like an electric storm, but there was no sound, no wind disturbance. It was real quiet, and then it just kind of hovered there, and then drifted off to a set of trees off to the left that we couldn't see it. It just disappeared behind these trees. But what was really weird was, I don't remember the rest of that night, and that was only like 2 hours into my 8-hour shift. So there's 6 hours of work that I don't remember, and then I don't remember going home and talking to my girlfriend about it or anything. I don't remember. The next day when I got to work, I was all amped, ready to talk to my coworkers, because I wanted to report it. I was like, let's, see if anybody else saw this thing. Because, it was massive. It was, this thing was I could have underhand thrown a rock and smacked this thing. It was so close. It was insane. And
you had said that the rest of them had the same thing, didn't you? And your boss?
There was, I had my boss. I forgot to say, there was like altogether, 5 people came out and was standing there, and I knew every one of them. But one of them was a really good friend, but he knew the other people like he knew me, like how close we were, but I didn't know those people. And I was going up to them, asking them, and they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. They just blew me off, and I thought they were messing with me. And I was talking to my friend that I was kind of close to, and he's like, I don't know what you're saying, man. He's like, what ship? What are you talking about? And it just blew my mind that I don't know if they just were so freaked out that they just didn't want to go there again, or if they just truly didn't remember, and I'm the only one that has a memory of it.
You could have been just sensitive enough to have the wherewithal to remember it, since you had the experiences before.
Yeah. Or it didn't take, like, whatever they do to make people not remember. It just didn't take good enough for me. It did, but it didn't, so to speak. Like,
you say you smelled ozone. Did you have any heat off of it?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember like a temperature change, but I do remember my hair standing up on end. I've been in an electric storm before, and that's what it reminded me of. Like, it's right before lightning strikes.
It doesn't surprise me that maybe you would, if something like that did happen and something was coming through, what we call the veil on this show, kind of. The line, that ozone would be something you smell.
Yeah, we called it piercing the cosmic veil when I worked with Joe Jordan.
Okay, that's what me and Wild Trees were just saying. Like, what are we going to call this? Because you got all these entities that come in and out. Like, that's the veil. It's also what I call. It's also what I call believing and not believing. Is if you want to go put your toe into the veil.
Yeah, but Joe
hat and t-shirt ideas.
Yeah, he likes to call it the cosmic veil.
Who was that? Who's that? You said it was.
Piercing the cosmic veil.
Or Joe who?
Joe Jordan from CE4 Research. Actually, that's what brought me back to Christ, because I mean, my mom was from Kentucky, so she raised me Baptist, and so I'd known Jesus my whole life. But when I was researching the ancient alien theory, and I come across Gan Shamira's Age of Deceit. I'm sure you've probably seen some of those, but Joe Jordan was in that, and his website popped up, and I got on there and I seen all these testimony of abductions, people that had in the middle of an abduction cried out to Jesus, and it ended immediately. And so that it triggered something in me that I just knew there's no doubt in my mind from the experiences that I had. And plus, even after that, I've had other experiences where it seemed like I was on the verge of sleep paralysis, and I could see a shape forming above me, like something was about to happen, and I would cry out to Jesus, and it would just end it immediately. But yeah, the testimony, the hundreds and hundreds of testimony, it's like, why would an alien, and these people are totally full on believing that they're on an alien craft, and these are little gray aliens probing them, doing whatever, taking blood, taking fluids, and somewhere during the attack, they have enough peace of mind to call out to Jesus, and they said that the entities will scream out in abject terror, or like it's hurting them. Then you've got psychiatrists like Jerry Marzinski. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. If you haven't looked him up, he's somebody to look up. He's a retired psychiatrist now, but he still investigates, and I think he still works with patients, I think, severe cases possibly. But he's the only one. Apparently they don't teach you when you're talking with a psych or a schizophrenic. They don't teach you to pay attention to what the voices are telling them. And he went against the grain and said, well, he asked them to tell him. what's the voices telling you? And he started journal, you know, documenting them, writing a journal on everything they were saying. And they basically proved to him that this isn't just in these people's heads through different people. You just have to see it to understand. But yeah, he's made some groundbreaking discoveries for the psycho or the he went against the pharmaceutical company, and that's you would think you would think they would give him like an award because he actually did heal people, but he did it without the pharmaceuticals, and he did it through like a spiritual way, and they were ready to fire him for it.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. So he went against the grain and did exactly what he did, the opposite, basically, of everything that he was trained. And look where it got him.
It sort of reminds you of the COVID scandal with
Yeah.
anybody who had anything that wasn't diehard pure vax, you didn't get it. Even I made a video because I had been doing an exercise regimen and taking a set of vitamins that had been recommended by a doctor, and I had COVID. I didn't even know it, and I thought I was in bad health. I mean, maybe I'm not. I'm not old. I'm not in terrible shape. But when I posted that, I thought I was going to get shit canned. But nobody did anything about it. I kind of just said this is what happened.
Right.
But like anybody bigger, like you see Joe Rogan and talked about his treating it, they just crucified him. I'm like, he didn't really say anything wrong. He just said what he did.
Yeah. And it probably went against
vaccinated.
Yeah. They said don't take ivermectin, and people were taking ivermectin, and it's working. And then
my great aunt did. She went to the co-op and got it.
Yeah. And then you got that nurse in Germany that was given saline solution instead of the jab juice. And they tried her. The judge found her not guilty, and she probably saved a bunch of lives.
I'm sort of on the fence about I don't want you to think I'm either way or the other. I am vaccinated. I just went ahead and got it because I'm sort of a federal employee, so I had to get it.
Well, these were elderly people, I think.
Oh yeah.
And
that was dangerous.
Yeah. Some people can take it, but
I think that if you were at high risk, you should have taken it instead of worrying about the effects of it.
Yeah.
The devil you know is better than the devil you don't in that case.
Yeah.
Not anti-vax at all. I just think I think it could have been handled a little better.
Right. I should have clarified that it was elderly too. And
it went from 0 to Salem witch trial really quick.
Yeah. Totally.
like it saw a state trooper.
Yeah.
So I wanted to add something I had in my mind when you were saying the folks who were on the ship calling out to Jesus. So it was people actively being abducted that they did that too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was skimming our conversation.
Yeah. Some of them were as children all the way into adulthood. A lot of them get reverse or regressive hypnosis, and they'll find out more details. And sometimes they can start getting spiritually attacked during the hypnosis, like it activates whatever it is, the connection that they've made. And it's usually spiritualism. That's usually what brings it on. If you start messing with like Ouija boards or you just invite it in. And once you stop all that, you stop the attention. And the relationship with Jesus is another thing. It just ends it completely. People will go from just nightmare to nothing in like seconds flat. It is pretty amazing. Some do struggle, but yeah, I've been there, and I'd like to help others that's going through the same.
Sorry, somebody knocked on my door. Yeah, it's interesting to hear this side of the abduction testimony, because I've heard the other side from people who didn't have a bad experience, but they also had sort of like the same. What am I trying to say? The same report about people who did have a hard time with it. Like it was because it's trauma. If it's sheer terror. If it's not not handled correctly with the memory, the time loss we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, yeah,
And I've heard those guys saying that if they've what am I trying to say? They didn't talk to them. They got testimony from them saying that they demand to be put back, and they put them back. So I can see that if you get up into whatever's happening to you, if you start to demand that kind of intervention, how they would automatically just snap you back into where you came from, especially if it was that powerful of a reference. If you went straight to the nuclear option on them,
yeah.
demonic or
Well,
not, even if they're not demonic. Not,
yeah, yeah. Well, I think they want you to be in that state of helplessness, and that's why they they get you when you're sleeping.
yeah. Do you
But
think they're aliens at all, or straight up demons?
no, actually, I'm for the geocentric. I'm not for the heliocentric design. I believe there's a firmament.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was going to be one of our topics we were going to.
Yeah,
I love that topic. I've been on an
yeah,
Antarctica kick all week.
yeah. That's the craziest. I mean,
Gearing up, man.
they got everybody signed up. Nobody going there. Got every country signed up for the treaty, the peace treaty. It's the only piece of real estate that every single country signed up on it. I think even North Korea is signed up on it. So
First it was 12,
yeah,
61.
something like that.
It's pretty fascinating. We had have you ever heard of Dolly Saffron? She's an abductee. Preston didn't.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I've had them on here. I have those shows I need to launch. She's going to be on here in January, but I have to have Preston. That's her researcher that took down all her notes and did all her studies with her.
Okay.
But she was talking about how the Antarctica has a AI in it that's just out of control down there. It's like a giant. It's being treated like a giant server room.
It's hard telling.
Yeah, there's no telling.
The military, they love building domes, the deep underground military bases, and you look at the caving systems, and I'm sure you've heard of the 411, David Pilates.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, you take all those missing reports and dot them on a map, and then do the same with the caving system and lay it over, and it's just they line right up.
Do the same thing with Bigfoot sightings too.
Right.
They fit right on top of that.
Yes, and then
it's incredible.
Got all these people looking up when they should be looking down. It's probably why they disappear so quick, because you'll have people talking to somebody behind them turn their head for 2 seconds, just long enough for nobody to look at them. There's no human attention on this person, and then they look back and they're gone. There's no sound. There's no struggle. Just gone.
I've watched the Hunted 411. I can't watch the other one because there's kids involved.
Yeah,
it started showing that. I'm like, I'm not done. I'll do the Hunted one because I am a hunter and I can handle that. But
yeah,
when little Timmy with his teddy bear walked off, I was done.
Yeah,
I just can't. I couldn't do that one.
Then you got that kid with the. He come back saying they actually found him. He went missing, and then they found him like in a trance, sitting up against a tree, and they got him. He didn't talk for like days, I think. And then when he finally started talking, he said it was a bear man.
Yeah. The bears took care of him.
And he took him underground, and that's how they traveled from one spot to the next. And they would pop up every once in a while. And he had put him into a trance and told him to wait there while he went to go do something. And they found him while that bear man was off doing whatever. And he probably came back and was like, "Oh no, my trance wore off." But
it's kind of a telltale sign there. Calling card.
Well, you've got animal camps, and then you've got the spiritual camp. You got, like, I'm sure you've heard of Bobo from the Bigfoot Hunter show. Yeah, he used to actually be a roadie for Black Flag, I guess. But he used to be the animal camp, but then he had an experience where it was an orb and it turned into Bigfoot, or it was Bigfoot turned into an orb, and then he had a UFO incident, I think, also, possibly. Don't quote me on that. But I know he did have some type of an experience to where he's like, whoa.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that part, about Bobo getting flipped over there, because he was always flesh and blood.
Yeah, yeah.
I find that the hardest thing to believe is the flesh and blood argument.
Like, yeah, because
I mean, either they're not real or they're interdimensional.
Yeah. Well, the thing that ties them all together is high strangeness. Okay. You've got ghost hunters, you've got UFO hunters, and you've got Bigfoot hunters. And they all, once they go out, eventually they're going to end up experiencing high strangeness to where they'll go home and they're going to have it's poltergeist activity. And that's as me being a follower of Jesus, I see that as it's the demonic, all, it's just the shape shifting abilities that these fallen angels have, that's their created ability.
So is high strangeness, is that what it means? I've heard that a lot lately, but I haven't been able to find like the definition to it. Like, I know you think high strangeness, you know about what it means. I've just never got like a solid definition.
It's a ghost hunter would just call it what it is, poltergeist activity. But that's what a Bigfoot hunter would call it. And that's what a UFO experiencer, because they're experiencing things that are with the UFO and alien aspect, but now they've got this ghost aspect. It makes sense for the ghost hunter. They're like expecting it almost, but to a Bigfoot hunter, it's high strangeness. That's highly strange that this is happening, because I'm out hunting an animal, but now stuff's moving around in my house like it's a poltergeist activity. So they've coined it.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so it ties it all together.
My last guest wrote a book called High Strangeness.
Ah, wow.
And it's High Strangeness, the Minnesota Bigfoot book. And I interviewed the guy. I interviewed the guy he wrote it about. I interviewed the author of it. And I'm almost to the point of buying a new car and driving to Minnesota to see this shit.
Yeah,
because it is insane. And Travis Taylor used high strangeness on Skinwalker Ranch. I'm like, what is this term?
I was getting ready to come to that. That's amazing you brought that up, because that's what ties it all together for what I believe it's just demonic deception. Because if you test any one of these, if any one of these entities came to you and you called out to the name of Jesus, I would almost guarantee that you would see its true colors. Because there's people that have had a Bigfoot attack to where they had to call out to Jesus, and and I'm sure it's happened with tons of ghost hunting, paranormal hunting, people that have cried out just out of sheer fright, and they don't even realize it.
You almost have to. It's like the go-to defense mechanism.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, I try not to be blasphemous with my hypotheses on this area, because I know we're sort of allowed to think certain ways, and I don't want to commit sacrileges or anything. But it makes you wonder what kind of rank there is in the spiritual world, like where everything falls in line over there. Because they're aware, like angels and the old ETs and the demons, which are evil spirits. Like how does it all, like, they know Jesus is coming? Like, oh crap, we summon the big one.
Yeah, I think that there are some that unless you're already walking with Jesus, if you come in contact with them, if you're walking a life of a heathen, just calling out to Jesus probably isn't going to even work, because they're so powerful. You would have to literally have the Holy Spirit with you to even affect it.
Yeah, you have to have a working knowledge at least.
Yeah. There are cases of people that have cried out during alien abduction and it didn't work. But there are also organizations within the government, is called, what is it? It is, and now I can't think of it. My Lab.
Oh,
I don't
Millab?
know if the My Lab organization where they act like they're aliens and they'll literally abduct people while they're sleeping and try to get like recon. They're trying to get information because it's the people they're grabbing are the ones that are actually being abducted. They know they're being abducted, so they
You think
run
that
in.
actually happens, the Millab?
I do believe so.
That's insane, because that's some government power that's beyond our comprehension.
I
I've
think
heard a
they
lot of people
allowed
believe
it.
it.
Well, I think that what's it called, the Greada Treaty? One of the presidents, Eisenhower, I think, signed. Supposedly, they said it was aliens, but I would say it was demonic. And they allowed so many humans that they could abduct and do whatever they wanted with, and they basically just went beyond the contract and just disregarded it and went past that quota that they gave them. And
Who's going to stop them?
yeah, I mean, they're spiritual. What are you going to do? They're just going to disappear and go do it anyways. So that's what they're trying. They're just trying to at least stay on top of what they're doing and where they're going, because there's a lot of Luciferians in the military. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, it's perfect. I mean, you get paid to kill. I mean, possibly. If you go to war, if you're a Luciferian anyways, you're into sacrificial this, that, or the other. So that's just basically a sacrifice for them. So
Have you ever heard the story about the demon that knew what person in the group wasn't baptized? I can't remember where I heard that story at, but I was thinking when you said that if you didn't have it, if you weren't walking with the Holy Spirit, that it wouldn't be doing you good. And I wonder, since I am baptized and everything, like if that would be some kind of notch on my belt.
Yeah, that's it's like a spiritual mark. They can definitely tell.
Yeah, it
for
was.
Sure.
I think I might have been listening. There's this new show on YouTube where they interview, like they do like a Q&A series with an exorcist, like an actual Catholic diocese exorcist. And he was talking about how the demon pointed at a firefighter and said, "You're not baptized." I'd have to get the hell out of that.
Yeah. Well, and plus you got people. You'll have like 5 people standing there. 3 of them can see a craft up in the sky, and 2 can't. I mean, there's tons of these episodes that I've heard of them, and that's just the ones that couldn't see it are the ones that are saved or have been baptized, or and the ones that aren't, that's why they're seeing it. Then you've got countless stories of the Native Americans. They're like, it's not a good thing to see Bigfoot. They're like, when you see Bigfoot, something bad is going to happen in your life. And that to me is another that points towards it being demonic, some type of a, like you were saying, a rank.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think that the same thing that's abducting people is the same thing that's grabbing people at the 411. But why is it they can keep them when they grab them in the wilderness, but they have to return them when they grab them from their home?
It's like a rogue bunch doing it.
Yeah.
It's not the same group.
So, well, I mean, it might be the same entities, but just like you were saying, different classification, different area. I just call it spirit, like spiritual red tape is what I like to call it. Like a vampire, you have to accept it into your house.
Oh yeah.
Like just anybody. Like you've heard a million stories of somebody that messed with the Ouija board. Now suddenly their house is just full of all this craziness that wasn't there before. That's the acceptance.
I have a coworker kind of was in that situation a few years ago. Her mother was like her mother would exercise places, and they were at a place in Kentucky called Doe Run Inn. And I think it hit the fan, and they had to get out of there. The mother stayed to kind of take care of the demon, and she went back to her room to get her clothes and just kind of bug out. Saw an old man in a chair that disappeared before her eyes. That's creepy. But she said, like, I see her every day. She was talking about how the shadow people followed her around for weeks after that.
Yeah,
She said they
and
were
that's
everywhere.
I think what that is if it's not a level, that's either a ranking of demonic, or that's the level of how close they've gotten to you. Like they can take different shapes and forms depending on how, I call it the spiritual doorway. Like
Hmm.
if you use a Ouija board every night for a week, say, that doorway is going to be just ripped off its hinges eventually. Or if you're channeling, I don't know if you know what channeling is, or auto writing, or things like that. The psychic mediums like to do, where they'll
Hmm.
allow a spirit to take them over, and it's not them writing, it's the spirit has taken them over. Like have you ever heard of H.P. Blavatsky? From she
Mm,
started the Theosophical Society.
I haven't. I was trying to think of a channeling. I've never heard of that going on.
She channeled the book that she's famous for. I'm trying to think of the name of it now, I can't think, but that whole book was channeled, just like Aleister Crowley channeled the Book of the Law. That was completely channeled through what was it? Iwas, I think, was
Hmm.
the his ascended master, God, deity, or whatever that was. But yeah, there's certain books out there that these people claim, it was a demon that came through them, and or a
So
spirit, or
it just
whatever
writes
they
it
were.
for them with their hands.
Yes,
Hmm.
they take them. It's a form of possession. But the more you do that, the more it just rips that door off its hinges, to the point where they won't need permission eventually. And when it's like that, that's usually when the attacks happen.
And what do you
Um,
think the Ouija board does? Because I've heard you can make your own Ouija board,
yeah, it's
and it
just
works
a
exactly the same as the one you get from Parker Brothers.
Yeah, I could make one right here,
Hmm.
right now, with this pen and piece of paper. Yes or no, just like that Charlie Charlie.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's all intention and your will and intention. And where your attention is pointed, you're giving them direct attention. You're calling out to them, and that's what they want. It's a form of worship
Hmm.
almost.
It's so weird because it like amplifies how everything is kind of just waiting on that outlet, waiting for the lowest uh, path of least resistance. They don't care
Yes,
what it is.
yes,
Like this dude over here wants us to talk to his dead grandmother, so let's get Beelzebub on the case and put on a wig, get down there and talk to him.
yep, yeah.
It's just
Another one to look up is Roger Morneau. He's a he was a part of an elite Luciferian group in Canada back in the 40s, and he they let him in on a lot of the stuff that was going to happen, and everything that he's talked about in this testimony that he gives, that was 20 some years ago, probably 30 years now,
mhm.
is happening. And he talks about alien invasion, that's all demonic deception that they're doing, how evolution was deception. And oh man, there's just this whole list of things that he goes through that just lines exactly up with what's happening now. He's passed away now, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, but he was he said he went into a room, and there was all these typewriters that were going, but instead of just going to one side, and they were going by themselves, but instead of going to one side, they would type forwards and backwards. And it was for a lawyer that was a part of the coven, Luciferian coven, and they were writing something for all these different cases that he was working on, and it was just spirits. He said they were familiar spirits. They said magicians, like Chris Angel, for instance,
Mhm.
people like that. They're doing all these tricks that are just, there's no way that they're faking this stuff. Some of it is illusion. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of it is like, what is going on? Or what's the other one? Dynamo, the guy from the UK.
Mhm.
He has this trick where, and I've seen other ones do it, but it's just, I don't. I just don't get it. He's pulling that rope all the way through him, and there's just no way. I
Yeah,
mean,
that stuff.
it.
Some of the Chris Angel stuff is like, what exactly are you doing?
Yes,
Like, there's
like
no way.
the colored handkerchiefs where they're inside of a glass and they're just bouncing around. He's got like a weight tied around a handkerchief, and he's making them just shoot all over the room like they got a life of their own. There's another one that does the same thing, but they're on fire. The handkerchiefs are on fire, and they're just going all over the room that he's in. It's just like there's no string, and if there was, how is it on there? Because it's on fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's some stuff you see like there's no way he figured that out. Like how did that
Yeah.
person's card get in a block of ice that they picked?
Yes.
I
Or
don't.
where they're pushing cell phones into a aquarium, and then he takes his hand and puts a newspaper over it, and then sticks his hand through the aquarium and grabs the phone and pulls it back out. Or pulls he'll take a handkerchief, that dynamo, and he'll pull it right through the center of a phone
Mhm.
while the camera's on the phone going. It's insane. Yeah, some of it. David Blaine's another one. Yeah, I think they're. And plus, when you see their advertisement, they always got little devils on their shoulders whispering in their
Mhm.
ears, and it's always really dark and demonic. Like
Plus, they all play in Las Vegas, which is hell on earth.
yeah, Sin City. Yeah, that's definitely the place.
Have you? What's the? Do you have any good Ouija board stories from eyewitnesses that tried it? Like what has happened to them? Like they.
No, but I've seen quite a bit of stuff, quite a few videos to where people
Mhm.
you could tell something wasn't right.
I know when I saw
There's a
paranormal activity, it scared me.
there's a guy called Mellow Bird that's in the UK. Just look up Mellow Bird,
Mhm.
and he's got a bunch of. I don't know if he's still active, but he was filming all this stuff going on while he was getting on his Ouija board. And because of the Ouija board activity that he was doing, it caused all this stuff to happen. And he was getting he would use a shot glass, and that shot
Yeah.
glass would literally explode right there off the board. He was doing it on like Halloween night and making like special events for it. But, yeah, it can get dangerous. And then when there's those cases that I think it was in Africa where like a whole school, this private school, it was like a Catholic school, I think it was a girls' school, but all the girl students got possessed, or a big portion of them were considered possessed. They had to call in like psychiatric care and doctors, and because they were messing with Ouija boards.
There's so many things that happen in schools in Africa.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
every genre of paranormal has the school in Africa story. It's
yeah.
crazy. I guess
And
because it's kind of unmonitored.
and that UFO.
Yeah, that's what other
Back,
one I was thinking of.
yeah, the John Mack interview where he goes in and interviews all the kids right after it happened. Yeah.
We always wondered what the purpose of that was. Like why did he deliver the message he did there if it was broke down, or was he broken down and he just had something he had to show, kind of like when you meet a vegan, they're going to tell you they're vegan no matter what's going on.
Yeah,
Maybe that's just like his spiel. I don't know.
yeah. Well, it's like a show and tell almost. It feels
Mm-hmm.
like to me, like they're wanting all this to come out because you got the military and the news and the CIA out. They're running everything on media.
Oh yeah,
They
Jesuits.
said that like what is that Project Mockingbird? They said they ended that years ago, but it's probably never ended.
That's something else now.
Yeah. So,
it's a whole other branch of the government now.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they were making fun of everybody before, but now they're all suddenly really serious about it. And
now they're pointing at each other like the admirals are bringing it forward. They've been seeing it for years. Like, where was this in the 90s? In the 90s, it was taboo to even mention it.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the cancel culture in my book. You'd bring that up. If you was a pilot for, like an airline pilot or,
Back when all the
military.
documentaries were at 7 p.m. at night on ABC on Sunday. Like
Yeah.
they told me I didn't see anything. They wadded it up. I don't know what happened to my report.
Yeah.
It was the same story every time.
Yep. Yeah, they would go way out of their way to make sure that you either keep your mouth shut or they would just make you look stupid, make you look like you're crazy. And
that newest Air Force guy that saw the I can't think it was the gimbal guy, not David Fravor, but the other one. He was saying how he told his admiral about it, and the admiral acted annoyed. It's like, we're still doing this.
Yeah.
I can't think. Everybody who's watching this, whenever I air it, it's like, oh, I know him. I say this. I bring it up a lot. I can't remember his name. But
Are you talking about the guy that they basically pushed out to the media and said, "Here, just tell them this"?
No, not that guy. Not that guy.
Yeah.
Not the. You're thinking about the heavyset guy with the goatee.
Yeah.
No, not him. This was a. I can look it up. But yeah, he was in. We discussed him not too long. What do you think about that guy? He was some people think he's full of crap.
Yeah, I really, everything that they do on television usually is just it's like they want it what is it?
Ryan Graves.
Oh, okay.
To make sure it's not the same guy. I'm not just talking smack here.
Yeah, it's like they have to tell us what they're doing, whether they do it through fiction or comedy, or it's like they believe in karma. Like they have to tell us, and if we don't catch it and we don't do anything about it, then their karmatic plate is cleaned off and they're not going to be held accountable.
Yeah, it's this dude right here. He was talking about how he told his admiral about it.
Yes.
And his admiral acted more annoyed than he acted annoyed and just walked off. Like, another one? Still doing this? It's funny. Here's on Lex Friedman. Anytime you get a Joe Rogan guest that's interesting, find him on Lex Friedman and you get the real story. Because Lex kind of like lulls them to sleep. They start spilling the beans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're talking a while ago about the Bigfoots with the high strangeness and the poltergeist.
Yeah.
The subject of that book. I was going to say what happened to him if you didn't know about it. He came home one day and locked his keys out of his house. He didn't have his keys. Had to break into his own house. Gets in there. Something's eating his ice cream sandwiches.
Oh.
And moved the sticks to the other side of the table. Ice cream sandwiches are melted on one side. And also, whatever it was, had used the bathroom all over his bed.
Oh my goodness!
It was, but his door, his whole thing was his doors were in Sheboygan or wherever. He's up in Minnesota. All the towns sound like that. Like Bemidji, I think his keys were in Bemidji. He had to break into his own house, and that stuff had happened while he was gone. But he never had any negative things happen other than that. Or he's had a couple instances of sleep paralysis, I believe, where he thought something was outside his bedroom door. He couldn't get up.
Yep. Yeah,
that's a telltale sign.
It's like they latch on from the attention, and then you just bring them right into your house.
In the land just north of him, seeing the dog man, they've been seeing the little people. Sounds crazy just saying it out my mouth like that, but that's
oh, I know.
It seems like there's a. I'm over here. I'll say this: if it's real, it seems like there's a correlation between all of it. If it's not, it's just horse, but it's bullcrap. But if it's real, there's a correlation.
It doesn't surprise me from what I've seen myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't disregard, because I did before I had my experiences.
You've said a lot of the same stuff that I've heard people say in the last 6 months. And they've said a lot of the same stuff you've said, and so on and so on. And even I don't know if you've heard of Long Island Bigfoot. He gets out there in the woods of Long Island. It's kind of like a more wooded suburban area. I'm sure you've heard of Long Island.
Oh, yeah.
But apparently there's woods out there. I didn't know. I thought New York was all bodegas and pizza places.
Yeah.
But yeah, go figure. And hey, I'm walking here. But he didn't have any kind of paranormal problem. He didn't have any experiences, but now he talks to Bigfoot, and he has a couple cool stories. But he had a traumatic brain injury. He was hit with a bomb in the Middle East. I can't remember if it was Iraq or Afghanistan. Comes back, Bigfoot aplenty. Sees ghosts.
Oh, wow.
Almost like a switch flipped.
Wow. And see, it was the opposite for me because I had the meningitis and that stopped my out of body experiences.
Yeah, it may have
Weird. It's weird how that happens.
Meningitis is in the nerves and stuff.
Yeah, it was I had received a little bit of brain damage from it. It's like pneumonia, but it's in the brain. Just bad.
Did you get bit by a mosquito?
No, I honestly think it was from a vaccination that they were giving out at that time in 1988 is when it happened. There was a certain vaccination that was causing meningitis at that time.
Well, which one was it?
I have to go back and look at the video I was watching it on.
Yo, because my uncle got meningitis in 92.
Yeah, it could have been
in 91.
Yeah, it could have.
I don't know how old you are, but he's about
40.
60.
I'm 47.
Okay, he's about 60.
Yeah.
If he ain't 60, he's 59. But
yeah,
I remember I was in third grade at the time, 91 or 90, right around the time of the Gulf War, the first one, and he was in the hospital for 6 months or more, just comatose.
Yeah, meningitis, I know it'll mess you up if you don't catch it. My eyes, they went cross.
Mm-hmm.
I just had flu symptoms, and so they just kept treating it like it was the flu. So
they told him it was viral meningitis. Is that the same thing?
Well, did they have to? Well, mine wasn't contagious, so it was.
He wasn't quarantined or anything. He was.
Yeah, it was viral. Yeah.
He was with the family got to go in and see him. I never did see him until he woke up or got more. I don't think he ever was coma, but he was in such a bad shape that I couldn't go in there.
Yeah, I was probably right next to going comatose.
Mm-hmm. He had to wear an eye patch for a while.
Yeah, it'll mess you up, that's for sure. But I didn't have any trouble after that. But it was probably a couple years after that was when I had the recall, the abuse. And then I got into drugs and alcohol real bad. And I think that probably didn't help matters at all. And
so your sensitivity just ended with that disease then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting.
And then somewhere down the line, it just picked back up. And it was the house that apartment where I had the sleep paralysis. Come to find out, somebody had blew their brains out in that place right before.
Wow.
And so I don't know if that mixed with, I don't know. It just
talk about negative
something
energy.
Triggered it. Yeah, because they love death. They love that lower vibration, and that's for some reason they hang around. Just like people that go and exercise houses, they have to exercise a house just like a person, or perform deliverance. And yeah, another case, Bobo. There's a case. The guy's name is not Bobo. What is it? Now I can't think of it. It was an Australian guy that got kidnapped by a Yowie and was kept. I've
heard that story, like rumblings of it.
Oh, what is his name? Now I can't think of it. I met my co-host Lee Arnay, which actually it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Lee!
Oh yeah, she just friended me on Facebook today.
Yes,
I've been talking to her about coming on. I didn't realize y'all were affiliated until you sent me that video.
Yeah, we all worked on CE4 research. That's where I met Mick and Lee. And
started sending her times to do interviews, and I realized she's not in this continent.
Yeah.
I don't know when her time is.
They are about 15 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
So it's actually the 8th for them right now. But yeah, they both had experiences. They're both experiencers. Mick has had Yowie experiences and UFO alien experiences. Or if you want to call them that. Everybody's got their own definition.
I definitely like to have her on. It was just when she told me that time, I was like, that's going to be a problem. May have to find a day I can telework.
Yeah, because like if it was right now, well, actually, right now is perfect time for her.
Well, you know what? I've had somebody on here from New Zealand before. I just did it in the afternoon.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the same time too. They're right there. So
I just remember
yeah,
that.
they're good. They're really good people. I've been close with them since I met them. I mean,
she seems cool.
She's got her own website called New to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
New, the number 2 and Christ.com.au. She gives counseling, deliverance ministry. It's not a deliverance ministry, but she will help with deliverance. Or anybody coming out of the new age that's being demonically attacked, spiritually attacked.
She hit me with the same disclaimer you did.
Yeah.
About what you talk about.
Yeah. Well,
it's interesting because you said that before you sent me the video, and I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because some people want to like politics. They want to keep religion out of it, but
part of it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, totally.
Whatever's going on on the other side, the religion's part of it.
Yeah. Well, and
whether we know exactly how it's going or not, that's entities all know each other.
Yeah. And the fact that like I said, why would an alien come all this way just to freak out? And they put down, there's stories of people that they're teaching them a new age doctrine. Like they're putting down Jesus without the abductee even bringing Jesus up. Like they won't just talk about him like in passing. They'll say it in a way like the person you call the Jesus Christ. So it's not them saying it like they're saying it on your behalf almost because they can't say his name. And
almost like a code.
Yeah, it's almost like I said, that spiritual red tape. Like they have to do certain things a certain way because they literally cannot even utter his name on their own account because it's like there's this other thing on what was it called? End Times Production does it.
Mm-hmm.
He has an interview with this guy. Now I can't think of it. The Foss brothers. Higher Entities. That's the name of the show. The Foss brothers. I remember seeing End Times Production doing an interview with those guys, and they're talking about this general, or not a general. He's just a guy in the military, but he's going to this dumb, and he has to sign this like affidavit or something, this clause that he will not say the name Jesus Christ when he gets down here to see these. They're calling them aliens, but he's like, why do I have to sign this? Not even to cuss, not even if you stub your toe, you can't say the words Jesus Christ when you get down here. Because it would have bounced them out, I guess, is what I think.
It's like accidental discharge.
Yeah, you will say it, and you'll literally cast them out of there, like casting out a demon, or it's discomforting to them.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's coming from I'm not sure how sourced that is. The guy's claiming that he interviewed himself, and yeah, that's pretty crazy if it's true.
Big, what do they say? Big if true.
Like Phil Schneider, he talks about it. The guy
I can imagine if that does have any kind of adverse effect, to just say it would be cause some kind of ripple.
There's stories I've read about people causing someone that they thought like this person's possessed. They've got a demon. And just under their breath, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. And that demon would manifest within that person and start making them flip out right then and there just because they rebuked them. And then, yeah, it's just They do not like that name.
I don't doubt it. I've heard those exorcism stories are terrifying. Like the one about, like I told you earlier, about knowing a cop wasn't baptized, but there was one I heard growing up from someone who I think is pretty reliable that said someone that was possessed, a little girl, I believe, her neck stretched across the room and bit a nun on the neck or on the cheek or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
I don't know if that's like a old wives' tale about that, but the person I heard it from would not wouldn't blow smoke up my wouldn't lie to me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't smoke up my skirt.
Yeah, they can manipulate all kinds of
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
They
it's
can
probably like
do.
a kindergarten level stuff for them.
Yeah. Well, like the Ring of Solomon. Okay, have you heard of the
Mm-hmm.
ring? The story of the Ring of Solomon. He received a ring from God. It had God's name inscribed inside of it, and because of that, it gave him the power to control demons. And he used that powers to help build the first temple of God. Well, you go to Moses and Aaron, fast forward to the Exodus, and Moses and Aaron go in front of the Pharaoh and challenge them to a magician battle or whatever between
Mm-hmm.
the power of God. And
Definitely heard that one.
so they obviously, the Pharaoh and his magicians are in direct contact with the demonic to be able to match. They're throwing down staffs and they're turning into snakes. That's
Mm-hmm.
they're in contact with the fallen angels and demons. So that tells me that they also used the same ability. They might not have had the Ring of Solomon, but they were probably sacrificing people in order to gain power to build their pyramids and all these monoliths. That's why they all look similar, like the the Mayan pyramids
Mm-hmm.
and the Aztec. All these huge monoliths are Baalbek. Like, how are they moving? We can't move them today with the machinery. Well, that's because we're not using demons to to move our stuff around.
Yeah, don't give them a chance; they'll do it.
Yeah, I'm sure they're giving our government all kinds of information.
I just wonder if it's
With that.
possible that maybe there's demons and there's aliens, and they all use the same, lack of a better word, technology.
Right.
But like
Well,
one has ill intent, and the other one doesn't.
you've got the antediluvian theory,
Mm-hmm.
where there's this technology that was created from the offspring of the fallen angel, the Nephilim, the giants, and they were creating all kinds of stuff. And supposedly our government has found that. That's what they're finding in Antarctica and stuff like that. It's
That was my next question. How long till the government finds it?
Yeah.
But apparently that's that 50-year rule we've always heard. And what the government shows you, they have 50 years more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only reason they're showing us, because they're not using it anymore. And
they don't have to worry about any of the adversaries getting it anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason we haven't gone to war, like in the catastrophic sense since World War II.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't make any difference. Now, if we went to war, everybody's pretty much playing for the same team.
Yeah.
As far as the elite lizard people go.
That too. Well, and I think what if it does become a war of attrition? The next step is the nuclear aspect.
Yeah, and that's just going to be in total annihilation.
Yeah.
I don't think that can happen. It only happened once.
Hopefully something will stop it from happening. And that's another thing. Those sightings that people see, they like to mess with the nuclear warheads.
Yeah, lots of defusing of the nuclear warheads.
Yeah, the UFOs will show up over an area base. They'll get it all started, and then they'll shut them down. They'll prep them for takeoff. They'll get it to, what is it? It's like 5 or 6 stages or something like that. And they'll get it to so many stages, and then they'll turn it off. It's like they're testing it to see if they can do it, or they're showing us that they can. It's weird.
I really hope we can turn the corner here pretty soon. Probably not in my lifetime. I just don't want to die of radiation poison. But
No,
maybe
Fallout. Yeah, no.
maybe society will take a turn. I think once oh crap, we've been doing this an hour. Yeah, we'll wrap up soon. But I just think we're kind of adolescents when it comes to our social media usage.
Yeah.
I think that's easily 70% of our problem as a world right now is social media.
Yes, it is.
Like it went from nobody knew anybody to everybody knows everybody, and they want to strangle them.
Yeah.
And I think once we solve that initial, the honeymoon phase of social media like we're in now, we don't know how to use it. We basically got nuclear weapons now.
Yeah.
Social media is nuclear weapon of society. But I think once we figure that out, and maybe the Neuralink is the way to do it because you trust everybody, but I don't really want to go that route either.
Yeah,
everybody knows what everybody's thinking ever.
Yeah, the hive mind
seems to be the next step because aliens do it.
Yeah.
From every person I've talked to, aliens have that telepathy. I can't say that word, telepathy.
Telepathic.
I mean, it seems like every entity down to the 10-foot monkey in Minnesota that can unscrew a peanut butter jar has that ability. So it seems like the next step. Maybe they evolved it before we did, and that's why they were trusted with it. But either way, they've got it.
Elon just announced that they're getting ready to move into the human trials for the Neuralink. He was showing all those videos of the monkeys doing the tasks with and they did a good job. I mean, as far as not being able to tell that it was there, but it's just creepy.
I don't think I'm taking the Neuralink. That may be my old man stubborn move there.
The only thing I heard that he said that made sense, Elon Musk, is it's gotten to the point where if you leave your phone behind and you leave your house and drive to the store and you don't have your phone, it's like missing limb syndrome. It literally is. And it's gotten to that point. It's like
sadly, I believe it.
Yeah. It's like you pat your pockets and you're like, it's like you've lost your arm or something.
I wish I didn't.
Goodness.
I wish I didn't like my phone like I did.
Oh, I know. Or if your service goes down for a few days, you really know how addicted you are. I mean, it really lets you know.
I had a horrible problem with it because I say problem. It probably is a problem, but I was an only child, so I'm always really bored easy. So when the phone came along, it's like I had somebody to play with.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is amazing. I was older than most of the kids. When iPhones came out, I was like 25, 26. And so I was like, hell yeah, I want an iPhone. I can do everything. Because used to, you have to have a laptop to do most of that. Like I can get on the internet in the bathroom. I'm in. Never be bored again. And that's what happened. I feel like I'm like halfway a crackhead about it. A lot of days.
Yeah. They were just implementing computers when I was getting through school. I graduated in 93. So, I mean, it was just starting right there. My first computer was now. Oh, I know. It's probably just it's overload.
Every kid gets a laptop.
Yeah, it's insane.
My kids have 2 laptops in this room behind me that don't even work half the time, that are more powerful than any computer I ever owned until I was like 20.
Yeah.
Like, you just have that. It's in here against the wall.
Yeah, it's nothing like when I was a kid. I had the Atari or the Activision. I remember the
Nintendo Switch now.
Yeah.
Play Fortnite. They play Fortnite. My kid goes to, my oldest one goes to martial arts. They come home and all the kids jump on Fortnite when they get home to fight some more. It's like you haven't killed each other enough. They do jujitsu, so they practice murdering.
Oh, they love teaching that competition.
Mm-hmm.
They love that installation of the competition.
It's good. Keeps her from being insecure.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes, and I have on good authority there's barbecue in the kitchen. And so this has been an amazing episode. It's always It always shocks me how good some of these people are, especially somebody with a passion like yours.
Yes.
And I would like to have you back on talk about the firmament again. We didn't get a chance to get into that, and it is a weeknight, so we just won't. But yeah, thanks for being on, man. It was a good episode.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
You got anything you want to hawk? Anything you want to put in the description?
Just the website for Lee and
What was that
possibly
website? I'll put it in there.
new the number 2 and then Christ.com.au.
.au. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
All right.
And then possibly my demonic alien deception 24. That's my YouTube station.
Oh, that's your YouTube station. I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't know whose it was. Yeah, subscribe to those. They'll be in the description.
Yes.
I'll put them when I post the thing. I'll put it on there too for them to see.
All right.
We have a good time. All right, man. We'll stay warm up there in the frozen tundra.
Yes.
Watch out for the corn.
Oh yeah, there is more than corn in Indiana.
All right.